Guys, welcome to the Spain Gibraltar channel. I'm in Gibraltar. Look, you can see the ships out here. Let me show you what I came to visit. This is the 100-ton gun. Welcome to inside the bunker of the 100-ton gun here at Gibraltar. This is what it looks like inside the military bunker that was built in the 1800s. So it's a very heavily fortified location. It's from the 1800s, and it was installed here for defense for Gibraltar. Because look at the view. So, of course, from this position, we've got the Strait of Gibraltar right there. That coast is Morocco. That little tip there, that's called Ceuta, that's part of Spain. And of course, with this gun, would have the reach to defend the rock from all these angles. Now this thing, look how massive that it is. The shells were huge, and this was installed during the Victorian era, so in the late 1800s. And let's go inside and take a look inside of here. This is the 100-ton gun. Built in 1870 in England, it was shipped here and installed in Gibraltar in 1883. This is a detailed outline of what the gun looks like from the top view, as well as when we see it upstairs, how it looks drawn out. Further, which is pointed out that way. So we walk through the tunnels and get through over here. This is where they would load the cannon. They would spin this back around this way, and this would be the ramrod, and it would push in the projectile in here, and they would spin it back, and it would be ready to fire. Right, so something more interesting about the 100-ton gun is the use of the telephone. Now, the telephone was recently invented when the 100-ton gun was constructed here and installed. In 1876, when the telephone was invented, this would have been a new technology. So basically what would happen is someone up at the top of the rock or higher up on the rock would be in one of their stations looking out over the Strait of Gibraltar area here. And if they saw an enemy ship, they would call down with this telephone. Not working today. And relay the message that there's an enemy ship and they should get the gun loaded. In this room would be where the gun would be loaded. The cannon, the barrel of the cannon would be lined up right here on the outside. There's wheels. They would turn the muzzle of the gun, line it up here, hydraulically lift up the bullets, and then they would use this ramrod right here to push the projectile into the cannon so that it could be loaded and fired when necessary. Just imagining this. I mean, this is original as well. The steel, the wood goes quite a ways back there. And this is what's called the ramrod. This would be used to put the projectile into the cannon. This is the size of the projectile that would be loaded into the 100-ton gun. Now, the important thing about this projectile, or this massive bullet, was that it was armor piercing. So it was a very technologically advanced time, because during the mid-1800s, ships were being built and invented that were made out of iron and steel and metal. So regular cannonballs were no longer able to penetrate them. So that's where the technology for these bigger guns came from. And this would have been the bullet that would have been fired out upon enemy ships. So here in the tunnels, and to load the gun as well, they would have had a crew of 23 men that would have been doing all sorts of duties, from lowering the ramrod, turning the cannon. So they would need 23 guys in order to man this station. The gun was never fired in anger. First shot was fired in 1883. That was practice shots. And then again in 1901, they were also waiting to fire the gun as practice. Something was stuck in the barrel. So they sent someone down into the barrel to pull out whatever was in there. Now, that'd be a crazy thing, right? Because if for some reason the gun or it misfired or something and this guy was in there, he would have been blown across the bay. And this map details the arc of fire. So, of course, here we're in Gibraltar. I live here in La Linea, right? So this gun, the bullet, could get to San Roque, Los Barrios, Palmones, Algeciras. And if you've ever seen any of my videos when I'm filming ships, I go a lot over to this area. So imagine that this gun could shoot the projectile clear across the Bay of Gibraltar, really protecting the rock from this angle. And as you know, from up here, it gives really great views across the strait. So if there was any enemy ships coming, British Navy, the British military would be prepared and ready. The bar, that's what that bar is for. I imagine this bar would have been here exactly for this reason. The guys would come down here, they'd have to get down quickly to swing and land. This is how massive that it is. I'm about 5'8", and this thing is huge. On either side, you're gonna notice that there's these handles here. And then when we look over at the wall, you see the cast iron ring there. That would have been attached to ropes. The ropes would have been put into here, and that would maneuver the cannon to where it would need to be turned in this direction, where we were just inside. The cannon would be lined up there, placed onto that, and then that's where the projectile would be loaded in, where we saw the ramrod, and it would push up through to load this thing. Over to the other side and see if we can see inside of the barrel. I don't know how deep it goes. It might be closed off, but let's go see what the 100-ton gun looks like from that direction. Fascinating to be inside of this gun. And imagine this was built in England and then shipped here to Gibraltar. Take you up top and show you what it looks like, what the gun looks like from above, and then also what the top of the magazines look like. But here's the view from up top. Really stunning, and a stunning day. I mean, look at the day, it's gorgeous. That would have been an anti-aircraft gun that was installed in World War II, because this became obsolete really quick because the advances in technology were so rapid during that time for military equipment. So this gun was really never used other than a couple practice firing shots. It's obvious why this was such a good position for the gun, because it has the range of the entire bay. This would have been, it would have reached all the way over there to La Linea where I live. You can see the refinery back behind those ships. The gun, the projectile would have made it all the way over that far, and as well as over to Algeciras, and it would have protected this entire bay. And that's in the late 1800s. The loading magazine chambers, which we were just inside on the other side. So the cannon, the barrel would have been turned this way or to the other side, and that's where it would be loaded. This here is a mirror identical to the other one that we were just inside, but this is what it looks like from the top. It is a heavily fortified area. There's concrete, cement, rocks everywhere all along this whole area. It's very, very fortified. Now, a lot of this area too, as you can see, it's overgrown, right? There's not really a reason to come up here and disturb, because what would happen is taking out all the shrubs and the brush, it would actually probably disturb the concrete and disturb the structure more than it would be just to leave the weeds and the brush kind of grow. It gives it a little bit of a historic feel. So this is the tunnel that leads to the other magazine that I was just on top of. It's blocked off. Another one of these bars here. And then that would have been down to the magazine chambers, which are on either side here, and then up to the 100-ton gun. This would have been where the barrel would rest. They'd swing with the wheels. They'd swing the barrel over here, rest it on there, line it up with the aperture, and ramrod in the projectile, the bullet. Right, so like I said, this magazine is identical to that one over on that side, except that side is set up for tourists to go in and take a look at, whereas this side is still rudimentary in its old fashion. When not in use, they would, use this door and close it. And there's a weight right here. It's all painted and sealed shut, so it doesn't work. Okay, so this is the money shot, basically. We've got the cannon right here, the 100-ton gun, and as you can see in the distance, we've got the Strait of Gibraltar, the Bay of Gibraltar, and you can see that the gun is kind of lined up with a couple of these ships out here. We've got a bulk carrier and a cargo ship there. In the distance is a container ship, but you can see how massive this gun is, and as it aims out that way, it would totally be able to reach those ships right there and sink them if they were enemy ships.